Atheist Alliance International podcast.
I don't make this stuff up.
You know, if you put Jesus Christ first, that he'll look after all your bills.
It's not fake, it's faith.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Atheist Alliance International podcast. I'm your host, Jason Sylvester, aka Dodges of Mayberry. And this week we're joined by an ambassador from Recovering from Religion Foundation, Helen Greene. So just before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to please like and subscribe. So hello, Helen, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, Jason. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So you'd like to talk to us today about the recent Roe versus Wade decision and the controversy that's causing in the American states of Jesus.
Yeah. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Recovering from Religion, we are a organization that offers hope, healing, and support to people that are dealing with issues of doubt and non-belief. You can call or chat in with a trained agent that can help you kind of walk you through your emotions, what you're feeling, any issues that you're struggling with in a way that you're not going to be judged or anything like that. So if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about us, please go to our website, recoveringfromreligion.org. This way you can get a kind of a better idea what our charity does, what the volunteers do, what our mission is, and that sort of thing. So I just want to get that out of the way first. So for us at Recovering from Religion, when Roe v. Wade got turned over, a lot of us were feeling a lot of distress, a lot of frustration and stuff like that. So a few people in the organization and I joined up with them on a reproductive rights task force. And what we're doing, we're gathering mental health professionals, legal experts, doing advocacy group to help people in this situation, because I'm sure there's a lot of people feeling a lot of distress and anger, and they're scared and because of this happening. And we want to offer resources and support to people. So that's what we're doing on our end, plus working with other secular organizations to do more like on the governmental level, the legal level, to understand exactly what is going on and to get the word out that, you know, we have to fight against this, even though it's really difficult right now. And it can feel really overwhelming. So on our end, we're like, okay, what can we do? What we can do to not only support our agents, but support the people that are clients that call or chat in here are part of our online community. So that's where we are right now, in the beginning stages of that. But we're trying to get the word out as much as possible because we know people are probably struggling right now. We want to be a place for help and support.
Okay. And so I've seen the map, but I can't recall off the top of my head that there's a number of states that had the trigger laws that basically once Roe v. Wade was overturned, instituted this ban almost immediately. It's like, do you have those figures at hand of how many U.S. states are implementing the ban?
I do not have them on hand, but it's a quick Google search. I'm telling you.
Okay, but it's not a good situation in
it's
any
not.
case. I saw recently that President Biden made an executive order that would protect women and their rights. So is that something that's I'm not sure how doable that is. Like if the states, I mean, most of our, being an international organization, not all of our members are necessarily familiar with American civil law. Maybe you can just give us a quick overview of what Roe v. Wade is and what it means to the women in the U.S. that this has now been overturned.
Yeah, absolutely. So nearly 50 years ago, the Roe versus Wade went to the Supreme Court, basically making it legal in the United States for a woman to get an abortion if she needs one. It was considered a fundamental right because obviously we should have choice over our own bodies and what we do with them and make medical decisions and all that type of stuff. So, and that was the precedent set by the Supreme Court. If you now look at it, what the Supreme Court did was they overturned Roe v. Wade made it so the states get to decide what laws people have to follow regarding abortion in their state. The problem is that because we've left it up to the states, the laws get really fuzzy. Because, like, let's say I get pregnant, I live in Florida, I have 15 weeks in the state to decide if I want to have an abortion or not. The thing is, though, is that you really don't find out if you do find out you're pregnant, like let's say around 11 weeks. That's like one of the times I found out I was pregnant was at 11 weeks. You really don't know if there's anything wrong with the fetus as far as abnormals until 16 to 20 weeks. So let's say that for Florida example, that's that 15-week cutoff. If I find out, like, let's just say my child's heart is growing outside of its body in the womb, technically I would not be able to get an abortion. I would have to travel to another state because it would be illegal. And then it gets fuzzy if you travel to another state, because now they're starting to interrogate people if they're crossing state lines. If there's a young woman in the car, like, why are you going to, New York or something like that? And people are being crossed at borders, which is not really what we do here. Like, you're free to move about the country. You can go state to state, no problem. You're not usually... There's no border control, in the United States, but these things are starting to happen. And legally, it's becoming really, really fuzzy. Like, our lawyers, our people that work in the law, recovering from religion, we were like, hey, we're going to be doing this task force. What can we get the message out to clients, or, me, myself, when I'm going on podcasts, trying to talk about these things. The law is completely up in the air right now because it's left up to the states. The states have to decide how they're going to enforce the laws that they're going to enforce, whether it's trigger laws, bans, interstate travel to get, outside travel to get an abortion, how that's going to look, how they're going to prosecute. Because they're talking about prosecuting doctors that perform abortion. And we had a case here where a 10-year-old girl was raped, got pregnant, and she I forget what state she was. I think she was living in Indiana, and she couldn't get an abortion. No, or she went to I think it was Indiana, and then she went to another state to get the abortion done. And because it was illegal. She was in a state that when the trigger law went into effect, there was a ban completely on abortion, even on cases of rape and incest. So she's a 10-year-old girl. She has to have an abortion because having a baby would kill her, plus the trauma and having your rapist baby and all that type of stuff. It's really bad. So she was going to go to another state. She went to another state, got the procedure done, and there was a case where the doctor was facing criminal charges for performing a medical procedure because she had performed an abortion on a child from another state, even though in her state it was still legal to perform, the doctor's state was legal to perform the abortion. But unfortunately, and there was rhetoric also in the media, on right-wing media, that this case was made up to talk against, the RVUA being turned over. There was propaganda through the media until they found the guy and he was arrested and it was proven that she was raped. So this is the type of stuff that we're dealing with right now because there is no clear picture. When it was federal law, you could just, each state could say, what the limits were and stuff like that, but you could still obtain an abortion pretty easily. Even though it was, I wouldn't say it was super easy because it was still difficult in certain, like you would have one abortion clinic for the whole state in certain circumstances. But now, because it's being left up to the state, everybody's got to figure out how we're going to legislate. It's a logistical nightmare, really. I can't imagine being a constitutional lawyer right now. versus the state constitution versus the federal constitution, and trying to figure out how the laws are going to work and everything else. So it's just a mess right now.
Yeah, I've heard that even if somebody drives a woman across the state line to get an abortion, there's certain states that want to prosecute the driver as well.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And they're also thinking, like, they're starting to keep track on period tracking apps, collecting data. Yeah, that's already starting. If you have, because the thing is though, like Google can collect your data. Like Google has all your has saved all your data. You know, where you search, you know, locations, all that stuff. A lawyer, let's say you have a period. I have a period tracking app on my phone, even though I'm not having kids anymore. I just like to keep an eye on when my period's going to show up. You know, I just like to keep track of it. But I'm still of childbearing age. You know, it's weird how this is going down. They're tracking when you have your period, and it looks, and let's just say also you look up, so they're tracking you're tracking your period, and then let's say you look up reproductive care in Florida. That's a flag, and they're tracking all this stuff. So a lawyer can go in to Google and subpoena all your search data, you know, where you went, you know, what apps you're using, all that type of stuff. And legally, Google has to turn that stuff over. And it's usually helpful for things like, you know, like trying to look for like pedophiles or something like that, you know. But as far as our right to privacy is being violated in this way, and that's why Roe versus Wade got turned over. It wasn't because of the press. They said it was the individual American citizen does not have a constitutional right to privacy. It's not in the Constitution. So that is why that was the excuse they used to overturn the law.
And I believe
it's bonkers.
I believe all 6 of the justices that overturned it are Catholics. Is that correct? Or
Yes.
Do you know that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I've seen a couple of memes that like the most recent justices who were questioned during their congressional hearings to be appointed, and basically lied about what they would do with Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, it's very, very frustrating. I'm very, and a lot. And what's so frustrating about like the whole thing is that we're getting this message that people that have uteruses don't know their own minds. We don't know our own bodies. We don't know what is right for us in our own lives. We need, you know, the court to come and tell us how to live our lives. And these are real people that have to make really, really, really tough decisions. And there's a lot of emotional language that is used, like, you know, women having abortion, and I keep saying women, but I really should be saying people with uteruses, because obviously, you know, more than women can have babies. So, but if you're pregnant, and let's say you're, and this is where the emotional language kind of gets used a lot, because if you're in your third trimester and you have to get an abortion, it is not because you just decided that, like, I don't want to have this baby anymore. You know, you have, you know, prepped, you know, you bought, you know, you probably have your nursery going, you know, you're saving up for this child, you want this kid, and you get devastating news that they have a medical condition, or they died in the womb, or if you give birth to this child, it could kill you just because of a certain medical condition that you developed and stuff like that. The Supreme Court is now saying that, oh, too bad. Too bad.
So
you're going to have to carry that baby to term.
Are there any states that have outright banned, even when the mother's life is in jeopardy, have banned abortions?
Yep.
That's frightening. So,
let's see here. Arkansas, Idaho, but that Idaho is a little bit. They have a trigger law, but their abortions, you can get an abortion if you're dying or in cases of rape and incest. Like most of a few of the trigger laws is if the life of the mother is, or in rape or incest. Even rape or incest it's a little tricky, in that some states are okay if, and this is the thing that's so frustrating about like the rape and incest laws, that something has to be done to you that is violent for you to have any autonomy over your own body. So I have issues with that as well. But yeah, I'm looking, like South Dakota has a all out ban.
And presumably these are all Republican states that have
Oh yeah,
outright
yeah.
banned it.
Like there's only a couple that don't have the exception for rape and incest, but pretty much everybody else is saying like you cannot have an abortion. And this is like talking about even things like ectopic pregnancies, where there's going to be no viable fetus whatsoever. The zygote attaches itself to your ovarian tubes, and it will grow, and it can. But what it can do is that it can burst inside your uterine, your ovarian tubes, which can cause hemorrhaging and cause massive bleeding. You could die. And they're even saying there's some laws that you can't. There's going to be no viable fetus. There's going to be nothing. But because it's fertilized, it's a life, and you can't get an abortion, even though it's not going to be a viable human being.
So
there was a woman that was carrying around she needed to have an abortion because her baby died in the womb, and that can become septic and kill you. And she had to wait 2 weeks. She was in excruciating pain. She knew she was having health issues, had to wait 2 weeks to get the abortions, to get the dead fetus out.
And the doctors don't have any autonomy to intervene and save the mother's life. And that's crazy. So many of these American women are literally living inside The Handmaid's Tale right now.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I've been joking around that I'm of Todd now because I belong to my husband.
It's frightening. Just absolutely baffling. And like, you think if the fetus is dead and it's going to be septic and kill the mother, then the doctor should have the right to go. Not right is probably the wrong word, but the doctor should have the medical obligation to save the mother's life.
You would think that you would rely on the experts that have medical background training or working in gynecology, went to college, got degrees, were performing procedures. We would listen to them. But no, we're listening to a bunch of conservative Christians in the Supreme Court that just want to promise they would uphold power to their base. And this has been going on for a very long time. The right wing played the long game, got those 6 justices in there, and that was the first thing they did. Even though they lied under oath in Congress during their congressional hearings, to certify them for the Supreme Court, that they were like, oh no, it's precedent, we're not going to get rid of it. And they lied under oath, but there's no consequences for them. Where we have to have consequences when we lie in a court of law. We're held to a different standard than them, which is ridiculous. Because yes, you made it there. You made it to Supreme Court. You're super smart in the law. I get it. But when you're making decisions that are literally putting people's lives in danger, and if you have a child, let's say you're forced to have this kid and you can't afford to take care of it, like we're in a formula shortage right now. Housing isn't affordable. Most housing isn't affordable for a lot of people. Interest rates are going up. We're in everything's inflation right now, and they're also cutting money out of like social programs like WIC and Medicaid and Medicare and all those sort of things. The things that people rely on to survive. and for their children to survive, and you're forced to have that kid, how is that baby going to grow up? Is it going to grow up healthy? Is it going to grow up without trauma? Is it going to grow up without feeling that they're a burden? And what kind of relationship is the mother going to have with that child? These are all questions that I don't think people really think about. They just hear abortion and they think you're killing babies, which is not what it is. This isn't, what that isn't what you think it is. And nobody on the pro-choice side is like, yay, abortion. Like, we're not, think they should be. We don't think it's this wonderful, wonderful thing. This is not a good thing. It's a very hard decision people have to make. And it takes a lot of emotional, mental toil. It takes toil on the body. And I just when we're not honest about the things that are really going on, and we're really looking at who this is going to affect and what is going to happen, and what we're going to be dealing with an even worse healthcare crisis, because they're not going to stop abortions. They're just going to save abortions.
Exactly.
And it makes me crazy that people are basically vilifying, and this is what they do. They vilify the person that is having the abortion. And it's very frustrating, because it's like, listen, mofo, you're not walking in their shoes. If you don't want to, I could never personally have an abortion. It's just if I was going to get pregnant again, I would have a child. But that's my choice. I'm not going to tell somebody else what they need to do for their life, because I'm not living that life. But the Supreme Court has decided that they know the lives of every single person in the United States, and and if they should have kids or not, and what kind of medical procedures they should have, and stuff like that. And to basically, keep, and we can't afford the kids that we have in this country. So they're pro-birth. And the people this is going to affect the most this is a classist, racist policy, because it is going to affect the people that are the most vulnerable.
It seems like George Carlin was quite prophetic. Maybe 20 years ago. It says, when you're preborn, you're okay. If you're preschool, you're fucked. Republicans want live babies to grow up to be dead soldiers. So
yeah,
it's quite hypocritical that they talk about being pro-choice, but there's no social programs to support all of these children. I don't know if you've read the book Freakonomics, or if any of our viewers have seen Freakonomics, but how they said the decline in crime in the mid-90s was explained by the fact that Roe v. Wade came in, and I think it was 73. So there was a whole generation of children that wasn't born, that didn't have the resources and loving parents to raise them. And this, you see this decline. And so in 20 years, are we going to see an increase in the crime rate again because of this short-sighted decision by the Supreme Court?
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, keep going.
No, so I was going to say, Recovering from Religion is essentially a secular counseling service. So are you putting in some programs at RFR to deal with what's coming?
What we're trying to do is we're trying to not only define, this is also happening in-house, with our agents, giving them support, because we're getting uptick in calls and chats on this particular issue. So we want to make sure our agents are in a safe place, and they're keeping their emotions in check and stuff like that, because this is a very triggering issue for a lot of people. It's very emotional. But what we're also on our client side is let's say, ideally, once we know, because we're still in the very beginning of this, but let's say a few months from now, we kind of know where the laws are. We know where things stand, what people need, and we have collected a bunch of resources. And whether it's I live in Mississippi, and we know of an organization that is doing riverboat abortions, because the laws are different on the rivers than it is in the actual state. So we want to be able to say, hey, this is the organization that does that, and give them the resources so they can be contacted. If they have questions about the law, we we will have legal experts as we go along, kind of go over all this with our agents, so they're well educated. When people ask questions, we can give them resources, what the law is in their state, and organizations also that are fighting against this. We have a lobbyist in Congress that it lobbies for us for secular issues from recovering from religion, that is in line with other secular legal organizations. I can talk. So yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we're trying to gather as much as we can, so we can be a safe haven and for people to contact us and get the help they need. Because you can contact us anonymously, like through a VPN server. We definitely encourage that for people that are in like extremist countries, for example, like in Saudi Arabia, or anything like that. We always say, like, please hide your IP. We don't want you to get caught, because talking to us can cause them to face some very heavy consequences. So we want to make sure that people are safe when they contact us, and we're there to just give them the support that they're looking for. And if we can gather all this, we can get enough people together, working with the Secular Therapy Project. We're working a little bit with the Freedom from Religion Foundation, a couple other secular organizations. We're still in the beginning stage, so all the details on that hasn't really become 100% clear, because we're trying to figure out like how the best way for us to go forward with these things. But this is the goal. The goal is that we are trying to help people, give them resources, or just like, hey, I'm really distressed about this, a listening ear, that they can talk to without judgment. Like, because if you're like, let's say you're pro-choice and your family's pro-life, and you're dealing with that, and you're feeling very frustrated, like, how do I talk to my family about this, or I need to talk about this, you can contact Recovering from Religion and talk about that and work it through with an agent and stuff like that, to kind of deal with those emotions in a healthy way.
Okay. So, and RFR is based in the U.S., but you mentioned other, so that you're obviously an international presence.
Yeah, we have a chapter in Australia. We have another chapter that's beginning in South America for our Spanish-speaking neighbors. So, and we're expanding. We're like expanding a lot. I can't remember, because like there's all these different branches that are starting to open up. Like in, I think there's one opening up in like, I think was it Russia? Close to Russia. So, like Eastern European countries and stuff like that, we're starting a chapter over there. So we're trying to get as much global outreach as we can. Because the thing is that like there are people all over the world that are struggling with this, and with even just doubt, dealing with coming out of religion, and questioning things, and we don't try to like deconvert people. We're not like, you have to be an atheist now. We're just helping them kind of where they're at. Like if you're worried about like a fear of hell, and kind of walking them through dealing with that, that's kind of what we do, because we want people, basically what we're doing is a lot of street epistemology with a lot of emotional support underneath it, for people to like recognize their feelings, that it's okay to feel the things that they're feeling and stuff like that, but we're basically trying to offer resources and walk them through the logic of how belief takes away your ability to really think logically, and we're trying to give them the tools to do that.
Okay. All right. So we will definitely put the links. So if anybody's watching and you want to contact RFR, you can see the links down below. That'll take you to the counselors at Recovering from Religion, and you can reach out to them for help. As Helen mentioned, please use a VPN if you have one to help hide your identity, because we don't want anybody to get in trouble. So. Okay. Any parting words, Helen, of words of wisdom or some advice you'd like to impart?
Yeah, I think like when this first happened, I was feeling very frustrated. I was angry. I felt like there wasn't much I could do because like I don't have any power, but one thing I do have is my voice. And the reason why I'm out here trying to talk about what we're doing and trying to offer support, because we're all in this together, man. And if I can offer, even just one person was, they contact us, was able to get a little bit of help, then like I did my job, if it's even just to help one person, but you do, even if you feel that you don't have much to offer, you have a voice, you have a right to speak your mind. You have the ability to organize. We're living in a wonderful time where it's really easy to get people together and organize and stuff like that. The internet is a curse and a blessing. So do use your voice, get out there, be an advocate, vote, please vote. Like, even if you feel like you like voting your general election, voting your primary, like this is something that is very, very serious. And if we don't do something now, we're going to be living under a theocracy very soon. So
quite scary.
We need to be activists, and we need to do the work. As Dumbledore said, now is the time to choose between what is right and what is easy. And what is right is not easy.
Okay. Well, thank you, Helen. So for those of you watching, the counseling service for RFR is not just about people living in the US who might be in need of an abortion. It's a secular counseling service for people all over the world. If you're struggling with anything and you just need a secular counselor to guide you, and I know personally from a friend of mine who is a psychologist who related a story to me about a patient who was feeling the guilt of sin and was being reinforced by their Christian counselor. So something like Recovery from Religion is an excellent resource where you can go and get the help that you need from somebody who's going to provide you that unbiased counseling. So please check out the links below. Please reach out if you need to. And thank you, Helen, very much for coming on. And go ahead.
I just want to do a quick correction. Our agents that are trained in RFR, they are not professional psychologists, social workers. That we are just volunteers that have been trained really, really well.
Okay.
But if you do need something beyond what we can offer, like you're dealing with mental stress, mental illness, we will refer you to the Secular Therapy Project. It is our sister organization to get you secular, science-based mental health care on that side. So I want to make that clear. There, you're not going to be talking to it like a psychologist when you call. You might, but that's not what we're trained to do. We're trained more to offer that support, resources, walk them through, and like 95% of the time, our clients don't need therapy. They just need someone to talk to. But we do have that resource for people to connect to if they do need therapy.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, I conflated the secular therapy with Recovery from Religion, but
that's
please know if you're watching, please know the secular therapy option is there if you need it. So please reach out if you need help, and the links will be below. So okay, well, so thank you very much, Helen. I appreciate you coming on and sharing the trauma of the American situation currently, and hopefully you guys will come through this. So I'd like to remind all of our watchers, please like and subscribe and tune in again for future episodes. So thank you, Helen, for coming on and sharing with us what Recovery from Religion is doing and the Secular Therapy Project. And hopefully we'll get a few people will reach out to you.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you do want to contact me, you can contact me at helen@recoveringfromreligion.org. If you have questions, need resources, would like to get involved, you can reach me there.
Great. Thank you for that. Okay. So everybody, please, if you need help, you're not alone. You can reach out to these people. So great. Okay. Thank you, Helen. And we'll wrap it up here, and we'll see everybody on the next episode. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Okay, thanks for listening, and don't forget we're on YouTube, so follow us on YouTube. Just search for Atheist Alliance International, and please subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're also on all of your favourite podcast platforms, so make sure that you Follow us on there as well. See you next time.